Hello, welcome or welcome back. So today we will continue with the shoulder circles and connect them with the hip, the pelvis, and see what that will do for us. So please come to lie onto your left side with the legs bent and your right leg on top of the left one. Not like this, not flying, but the right one. Lying, not flying, and the head not flying, but the head resting. And stand your right hand somewhere in front of your chest and come to rest. In front of your chest, come to rest, come to rest, come to rest. And then move your attention to your right shoulder and then move your right shoulder forwards. And let it return home. So do this a couple of times. Let your right shoulder come forwards and back home, and then the right shoulder backwards and back home. So we have two directions for the right shoulder, forwards and backwards, and that would make a line or a curve maybe. So move your shoulder forwards and backwards and observe. So the learning, the lesson, is everything that is not the movements, like an essay or a story. It's not about the words. Maybe the words are nice, but there's some more, and that's up to you to discover, to experiment, to discover, to comprehend. Yes, that's, I think, what is learning. Forwards and backwards, and then move your shoulder also upwards and downwards. Your shoulder closer to your right ear and downwards closer to your right hip joint. So we define those four directions, forwards and backwards, upwards and downwards. So you're clear about this and clear about how that feels and how the shoulder connects to the chest. So if your chest rolls together with your shoulder or not, and how much. And we don't fix, we don't correct, we observe, we move and we observe. Very simple. Then bring your hand, your right hand behind you. So instead of standing the right hand in front of you, let your right hand hang behind you, and continue with the same 2 or 4 movements, the right shoulder forwards and backwards, just that the right hand is hanging, or maybe the right hand somehow can stand behind you. So now you cannot see my hand. So we are fair. I cannot see yours, you cannot see mine. But we both can feel how is the hand standing, how is the arm hanging. And when you focus on your right shoulder instead of your right hand and bring your right shoulder forwards, and how is that different with the new hand position and the right shoulder backwards, and how is that different? What possibilities opened up with this new hand position, and which possibilities closed up, opened up and closed up. And then also try your right shoulder up and down, and forwards and backwards. And of course, again, we try to discover, we experiment, we discover, we comprehend. So these are the 3 words of today. And let's try one more arm position with your hand above your head. So your right hand up above your head, and you can lengthen your right arm or you can stand your right hand. It's up to you. It's just, I want to show you how this is with the different new arm position, and try to find the same movements for your right shoulder. The right shoulder forwards and your right shoulder backwards and your right shoulder up and down. Again, these 2 lines that cross each other, and how different they are when the arm is in a different position. And don't hold your breath, don't hold your jaw, just be relaxed, let your chest roll together. So things were clearer when the hand was standing in front of your chest, but now the hand is up above your head, and maybe that's unusual for the right shoulder to move when the hand is up. Usually, when do we use the hand up in daily life? To reach for something, and then suddenly there's this rolling motion together with this arm position. So this position, and then it could be really any position, and you can play with that. For example, let's try this together. Also, the right arm on your right side, so your right hand on your right pelvis, and the right shoulder forwards and backwards. Oh, there's so much more freedom, and up and down. And always in the spirit of an explorer. Go explore, go find out. Instead of go work and do, it's more go find. Let's go and find out. How does it feel? How does it work? And then stand your right hand in front of your chest again. And now move your attention, so we can move the attention. Move your attention to your right hip joint. The right hip is where can you bring your attention to on your right hip joint, the right side of your pelvis. Maybe you can choose your pocket, your right pocket. Just choose somewhere close to your spine, but that's already on your pelvis, a landmark somewhere. Maybe the right hip joint deep inside. And instead of moving the shoulder, your right shoulder, now move your right, let's say your right hip joint, backwards and forwards, or forwards and backwards, or forwards and back home, and then backwards and back home. And see how this is different compared to moving your shoulder forwards and backwards. And so we go experiment, and then we go discover and comprehend. And maybe you have the feeling when you don't observe visually the movement, but you feel the movement with your senses. You sense the movement, you experience the movement. Maybe you have this discovery that the hip joint is very different from the shoulder joint, isn't it? The shoulder joint, when you move your shoulder forwards and backwards and then observe the connection to the chest, there's so many moving parts, but when you move your right hip joint forwards and backwards, it immediately affects the chest, doesn't it? So let's try a different position for the right leg, as we did a different position for the right arm. Place your right leg in front of your left leg on the floor. So your right knee is in front of your left knee. And again, try to move your right hip joint forwards and backwards. So that's different, isn't it? Or place your right knee behind your left knee. And now try to move your right hip joint forwards and backwards. And then place your right leg again on top of your left leg and move your right hip joint forward. And that's so much easier, but maybe you can feel how the movement has changed because you had the right leg in 3 different positions, and now in this, or 2, one in front, one in the back, and now they're in this position. Maybe this changed how you perceive your hip joint, how you perceive the rolling of your pelvis. We could do this just by thinking of something else. So instead of thinking of your pocket or something, think of your right sit bone, the lowest part of your pelvis, and bring the right sit bone backwards in the sense of maybe you need to, how would you have to move to bring only the right sit bone backwards and forwards. So here we have the core or the chest. So you need to work your pelvis forwards and backwards. If you think of this lowest point and you really want not just to roll forwards and backwards on the floor like a bag of rice, but if you want to really bring the right sit bone backwards behind you and forwards in front of you, then you start to twist, of course, and try to make this possible. And once you have it, you can make it smaller and smaller and make it more efficient and more efficient. And rest on your side. And let's try the right hip joint up and down. These lines too. Up, the right hip joint closer to your right shoulder and further away from your right shoulder. So again, a line that is perpendicular to the previous one. And once you have that, once you have a sense for this, so maybe your whole chest has to participate. Put your right knee in front of the left knee and try the same movement. The right hip joint up and down, and see how the movement changed, how the possibilities changed because your right hip joint is now. And see, I'm lifting my head. So if you would lift your head, you might sense that this makes sense because everything connects, your shoulder connects to your hip joint. And then put your, maybe we can say this, yes, and then place your right knee behind your left knee. The right hip joint up and down, and maybe that's very different. You can feel that it's very different. That's where I want to bring you to be able to feel those differences, to sense those, maybe sensation, physical sensation is the better word, to sense those differences, and then you can use those differences. Once you are aware of it, it's like knowing the alphabet. Once you know how to write the words or how to say the words in a foreign language, you can use them to your benefit or and do the things you want to do. Everything will be easier. So, and then come onto your back and just feel how it is to rest on your back. How your two sides feel, the right side and the left side, the aftermath, the after effects of this movement. Wow, my breathing changed a lot, to be honest. My chest is so much more free to breathe. Actually, it's easier. For me, it's a lot easier. Maybe I should title this a breathing lesson. But that's my effect. So what is your effect? What do you get out of this lesson? Maybe you will only know an hour later, or after you do it again, or maybe you already know. So if you want to share, you please leave your comment below this video to share your experience if you would like to share. And there's one thing left we need to do, is to stand up, to face the world in standing. That's specific to us humans. We can stand, we can walk, and observe how it is in standing and walking, what these movements did for us. This movement exploration. So come up to stand and just take a moment to stand and to feel, maybe to turn, maybe to reach, to play around a little bit, to maybe there's a difference between your right side or your left side, how you perceive your right shoulder and your left shoulder. And please take good care of yourself and see you in the next video.